Hello everyone and welcome to History 104 online. I'm Professor Hasselman, and today we're going to be talking about Muhammad and Islam. Now a little bit, Muhammad came from an old, wealthy, and very well-connected Meccan family, and he himself seems to have come from a relatively minor branch of his family, perhaps not from one of the wealthier parts of the family. So that's something to remember as we look at these different religious groups that developed during this time period. Now the world of late antiquity produced three heirs: the Islamic world, the Byzantine Empire, and the Germanic West. Now this lecture focuses on the first of these, the Islamic world. Now this world was the least predictable of the three as an heir for anyone looking at the ancient world. Arabia was large, turbulent, and contested among various powerful neighbors, chiefly the Eastern Roman Empire and the Persians. So Byzantium and the Persians to the Far East. Now the idea was subject to a wide array of influences from neighbors and from both Christianity and Judaism as well. But the Arab lands had never been fully conquered by anyone. Therefore, autonomous development was important as well. Now a key moment to the development of the Middle East can be found in the career of the Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad came from an old, wealthy, and well-connected Meccan family, not the most of the well-connected or the most wealthy, but wealthy regardless. And he entered the caravan trade as a young man and earned a reputation for probity. Now he married Khadija, a widow from about some years older than he, and as a young man he began to retire to the hills and caves outside Mecca, where he received a revelation from Allah. Now he was soon preaching a new monotheist, ethical, and exclusive faith that galvanized followers. His teachings were contrary to traditional Arab religion, and his teachings also threatened the privileged status of the Kaaba, a shrine in Mecca visited by pilgrims from all over the Arab world. Now, facing grave problems in Mecca, Muhammad and a few followers departed for Medina in 622, an event remembered as the Hijra, the beginning of the temporal era for the world made by Muhammad and his followers. The basic teachings of Muhammad are contained in the Quran, Hadith, and Sunnah. The Quran constitutes the scriptures of Islam. They are recitations, not interpretations, and Muhammad is not the author. The Hadith are collections of Muhammad's own sayings, and the Sunnah is in effect the good practice or the customs of Muhammad himself. Now, taken together, these teachings add up to a faith with just a few basic requirements. First and foremost, people had to make al-Islam, or the surrender to Allah. Those who made al-Islam were Muslims, and the essential requirements are usually called the 5 pillars. And these are a profession of faith, which reads, "There is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet." Second, fasting, especially during the holy month of Ramadan. 3, prayer, which is required 5 times daily facing Mecca, and if possible, Friday in a mosque. 4, generous almsgiving, and at least once in one's lifetime a pilgrimage to Mecca, which is our 5th. Now the faith is one of orthopraxy more than orthodoxy, and the critical idea is the Ummah Muslima, or the community of all those who made al-Islam. Now on Muhammad's death, his old associate Abu Bakr became caliph, or successor to the Prophet. Now Abu Bakr fought against apostates. These were people in Arabia who felt that their loyalty died with Muhammad. Then he and his successors fought lightning campaigns that in just over a century brought Muslim armies to central Gaul in the west, or modern-day France, to the frontiers of China in the east. Now it is possible to identify some reasons for this astonishing military success. Constantinople and Persia had worn themselves out in a series of war, and there were deep religious divisions in the eastern Mediterranean going all the way back to the patristic era. Raiding and plundering had been a way of life in Arabia for centuries, before Islam even prohibited Muslims from raiding one another. And the Prophet himself taught the need to expand the faith, which is what the term for that is jihad. Now in 661, a new family of caliphs emerged, known as the Umayyads. They were soldiers from Syria who settled down to building the basic institutions of the caliphate, and they moved the capital to Damascus. In 750, another change took place. The Abbasids came to power. These were ordinary soldiers and peoples from the frontiers, and they moved the capital to a newly founded city called Baghdad. Now, this was a period of brilliant cultural achievement, and the caliphs were great patrons of scholars, and Muslim scholars began to tackle the Greek corpus of learning, especially the philosophical and scientific works. And it is here where a lot of the works were held and protected and studied by the Muslim empires that eventually were fed back into the West as it starts to develop after the Middle Ages. Now, eventually the caliphate began breaking up. Spain fell away in 750, Egypt and much of North Africa in the 9th century, and the once mighty Arab army was increasingly made up of uncontrollable Turkish mercenaries. The Abbasids ruled nominally until 1258. Now, what had been achieved in a remarkably short time was a newly dominant people, a new universal faith, a new chosen people, a new holy book, and a culture deeply rooted in antiquity. So this is the end of today's lecture on Islam and Muhammad. And in the next lecture, we're going to be moving east as well, and we're going to be talking about the birth of Byzantium, or the Eastern Roman Empire.